grandma on Skype. I just woke up. It's been a rough day. We didn't coordinate royal blue. We just happened to both wear it. Don't know why.
Good sign for this week.
I don't know what happened to I used to have that shirt. I vividly remember stealing it, and I have no idea what happened to it.
Jim McMahon.
Jimmy
Royal
McMahon.
Blue.
I was at that game.
To be at.
Ooh.
Utah State Taysom injury game.
Oh, yeah, I was in the booth
Or the
with
Jim
Greg,
McMahon
and there were
retirement.
tears. Not from me, from Greg. Just so you all know. Welcome to A Tale of Two Cougars podcast / video show. I think we're both now. We've evolved, but still really technologically, and I mean awesome by that. So, you can always follow us on Twitter / Periscope at A Tale of Two Cougars. And what's going? I hope that didn't ruin the first couple minutes. Do I need to make my first couple jokes again? I'm like a grandma on Skype. I never know if it's working. We both didn't mean to wear royal blue. I lost this T-shirt, which I stole.
And let's hope this T-shirt brings better luck than the last time.
Don't wear that, golly. We're on the Twitter at A Tale of Two Cougars, with the two being on the face page as A Tale of Two Cougars, with the two being TWO. And if you can't spell two, Ute. Just kidding. What a great educational institution for some degrees. Those are available on YouTube, so you can watch old stuff. We're pretty great. Some stuff is timely, but some of it's evergreen, like my face. Always fun to watch. Let's talk Arizona, Mitch. It
was a fun time.
A lot of people were there. I think the excitement about Kalani, the first game of the year, and it being within equality proximity, I knew a ton of Coug fans who went down for it. And I'd say the crowd was 60, 40, 55, 45, that type of deal. We definitely packed around a little more and up for sure more, and there were some splotches of white in Arizona, but they had a good amount of fans too. And toward the end of the fourth quarter, I think that their fans affected the game, to their credit. I thought they did a great job.
Heard some Arizona fans as I was walking on the concourse who made the comment, you know what? This is going to be a great game because as many have, none of them are going to be drinking, so there won't be any fights tonight.
It's true. I was thinking, because it really was side to side, I wanted a comparison about how much alcohol each side sold, because I'm going to guess one side made about $7. They had like a beer station that had soda, and so I went and got my nachos, an entire pizza box of nachos, steak nachos that were great.
Those did look good.
They were good. I paid way too much for them. And I thought my friends would want some, and they were all like, no. You don't want nachos.
So you ate that whole thing to yourself?
No, I ate about...
That thing was like the size of a Swatcho.
I ate over half. I can eat a Swatcho. Maybe not anymore, but I ate about half, and then I had a buddy eat some. But one guy then went and got his own. I was like, dude, we could have shared. Think harder about this. Anyway, food. And then I stopped to get a cup cola, and there was no line because it was like beer and Coke. So everyone was getting their drinks from the food stations, and this was a beer station, and no one was there.
BYU games. The only time that the line for free water is long at a football game.
Ooh, that is truth. General thoughts on this game. I rewatched it, and I took some notes. This is the first time I've taken notes since college. I didn't do a very good job. I didn't do a very good job in college either, but I did real good. BYU ran fast, not surprising. Now, I was kind of half paying attention, but I marked down somewhere in the realm of 25, 27 run plays and about 18 or so pass plays. There were a couple of garbage plays here and there I didn't really throw in. They ran to the right a lot more than they ran to the left, and passed over 10 yards 3 or 4 times. 2 of those were deep shots, both of which were incomplete. One, I thought, the other one, the blame could be shared. But yeah, a lot of screens, slants, quick throws. First half, especially, and maybe the whole game, I really felt like BYU's offense was just feeling it out, which was good, but also bad because until late, and BYU really should have had more than 9 points going into the fourth quarter.
there were a lot of times in this game where here's the time when BYU just, and I feel like at times, obviously it's good to protect the ball, it's good to run that clock down, keep that time of possession. Times where I felt like the offense got just a little bit, I don't know what word I'm going for, but just not quite as aggressive at certain points in the game as I thought they maybe could have been.
Yeah, it was a little bit more scary than it needed to be at the end there. When he ran for that touchdown, and I was pretty pissed. I was like, don't tell me. No, it wasn't that I would not travel for a loss, because it's like, look, if you're going to go somewhere and they're going to play a good team, you know they may lose. And not that Arizona's that good of a team, but it was just that clearly BYU should win that game.
They had dominated in every phase up until that point, and it should have been a more convincing win. As it felt, 3/4 of the game.
Let's go those last two drives real quick. Arizona, it was only a 4 plays when they scored that touchdown. They threw for 24 yards. BYU was in kind of a soft, which hurt them a few times, and I think you're gonna let some of those passes happen. They had a 4-yard run, a scramble for a short gain, and then the touchdown was actually on a 3rd and 3, and it really was that Longy was defensive end, and he kind of got pushed outside. The 2 linemen came out and blocked the linebackers. It was really good blocking scheme. The safeties were worried about the slots on each side, and the space was there. So I don't think that there was a massive, massive mistake. I didn't think Longy is supposed to contain. I thought he came in at the end and actually almost got his heels before got through the line and took off. But, man, it's tough to see a big play like that, and it seems like BYU always lets through a big play or two.
I was surprised that didn't happen sooner in the game. I felt like in the 3rd quarter, Arizona was really gaining some momentum. You saw some of their speedier players go more yardage like that. Honestly, I was surprised that something like that didn't happen a little bit sooner.
Yeah.
All I can say is I am grateful that they left a minute on the clock.
Yeah.
Easily could have happened 30 seconds later, and then who knows what happens.
And then, of course, they had to, I liked the idea of letting the clock run and maybe getting off one more play, using that timeout and then kicking the field goal. But there was the penalty and the runoff. There was a lot of penalties in the 4th. What I noticed was the first half, BYU played really clean. Their defense was shut down, and Arizona figured some things out. And props to them. I thought this game was actually others. You noticed the coaching, or there's more coaching involved. And I thought, it was game 1, and so maybe that's obviously why. But I thought coaching was a bigger factor in this game than it is in most. We got to see clock management. We got to see adjustments after adjustments, personnel decisions. I just think coaching.
What was it that you had tweeted out about down situation in that first half?
Oh, Bronco wouldn't have gone for it.
Yeah, there were just coaching things like that you brought up through the game, that where you say this is a game that shows the potential that this coaching staff has to make changes, to make smart decisions on the fly. And overall, I think it also shows Kalani Sitake's ability to rely on the coaches around him.
Yeah.
He has really good coaches around him. And I think he realizes and knows that.
He let Detmer and Lamb make big decisions.
Times where, at least from my observation of watching kind of the sideline, there were times he just kind of stood back a little, just let the game kind of come to him. He wasn't necessarily right there all the time on the line of scrimmage. I think all the coaches in general just worked really well together, considering this was their first game.
We're figuring some things out. All right, we'll get it. Let's talk about that final drive, and then we'll kind of we've already kind of gone through the game and offense. We talked about defense a little bit more in our MVP there, which I'm sure will help talk about the sides of the ball a little bit more too. BYU's last drive, Hadley had a 30-yard return. It was a 17 yards on a crossing route to MLP, but a nice stiff arm. A little 3-yard Trindeman out, and he got out of bounds. They were able to get out of bounds, I think, 4 times in the final drive. Complete pass on a big blitz. The one time Arizona brought the house, Taysom threw it away in a good way, but I was surprised Arizona didn't continue to bring the pressure, but I think they were worried about getting burned. A 7-yard quick slant to Trindeman, a 12-yard – I can't remember my own handwriting. A 3-yard right run. That was one of the few Taysom own. Then Taysom got the first down on his own and got out of bounds. 4-yard run and then the penalty runoff. So
yeah, things kind of got hectic there at the very end.
A lot of going on.
At some point in time, I looked at the clock and this is before the penalty happened, and thought, run a play and potentially run out the clock. It got
I thought it was like, okay,
crazy
snap it with 14, 16 seconds left, get that last play, and then you can do whatever you want because you have that timeout. And then now the penalty was for false start. I watched that play on DVR like 10 times, and I'm not great at this, but I've sat in a booth from very high up and felt like I could see an offensive lineman's twitch, and I thought maybe I saw one on TV, but I didn't think there was a penalty.
Interesting.
But it was a good 90-second drive. That's what you want to see. You want to see that your team is able to do that. And it was refreshing, but it shouldn't have come down to that. I was scared to death. It came down to a field goal. I didn't know about the Oldroyd stuff until a few minutes after the kick, any of it. Like, he came on later to kick kickoffs. He had been injured for all but the last 3 weeks. He's a walk-on from Texas, and he looks like a
since his
baby
junior year of high school,
where he didn't miss a kick. But yeah, like, all sorts of fun for this story ending that we didn't need. It was great to be there for it. It was good to see Taysom over, really be in control, because through a lot of this game, I thought, you know what, Mangum might be a better fit defense, and Taysom didn't look explosive to me. And so when it came to the end and Taysom really, even though he didn't in that last drive do anything incredible, he controlled the game. He didn't make mistakes.
I think that's one of the differences I saw in the offense, was just the ability to control things. It was, in some ways, I felt like I was watching an NFL offense, which I know that's somewhat more of what it's patterned to be after.
Yeah.
But to just watch him walk to the line, to be under the gun, to huddle, some of these different things, think about things a little bit more. It wasn't necessarily the most exciting offensive performance, but at the same time, I didn't ever feel like things were going really bad either.
I thought there might be a lot of points scored in this game, and there weren't. And like I said, the biggest issue for me was Taysom, who looks bigger and said he's going to gain more speed and he's going to lift less as the season goes. To me, he didn't look slow, but he didn't look explosive. He looked like a guy where he was athletic and his legs were part of his game, but he certainly didn't look like he was going to run all over people, and I hope that changes a little bit, but not a ton. He looked poised in the pocket.
He did, though, what we of the season said he needed to do.
Yep.
In relying on the weapons around him.
He did, but he looked not capable of being that runner that we've seen, which is not necessarily a bad thing if he can continue to perform at a high level. And he's going to face a better defensive line this week, and a faster secondary that's going to test to see if those receivers can get open in one-on-one situations, which I didn't think BYU's receivers, who were good, Jordan, Leslie, Mitch, Matthews, really could separate themselves. Final thoughts on that game. MVP for me, Jamal Williams, who looks next level. He's going to get tested more in the next 2 weeks, and I think he'll get that rushing record. But really quick cuts, fast, strong. He always breaks at least one tackle. Least valuable player, Rhett Almond. I know it was his first game kicking, but his extra point and his field goal was so ugly, and I don't want to get down on a kid. And obviously, Oldroyd's going on a mission, so he's not going to be the kicker of the next 2 years, but that put us in a really difficult situation. Kalani then went for 2 at one point, which was a scoring strategy, but also necessary. And that was frustrating to watch. I'm just going to go through some quick hits, and then you can do them. Defense. Kafusi played a lot more than I thought he would, and he played well.
Agreed.
He played well. I thought he was more of a situational guy or a come-along guy, but it seems like he knew what was going on.
Mm-hmm.
Had a handful of tackles, had a sack. Now, he's got to be disciplined, but it was cool to see him in there and being a beast. Sorry about that. Special teams, Johnny played great. He had, 4 punts inside the 10, 2 of which ended up in the end zone, but 2 got down at like the 1. Spectacular game from our favorite Twitter follow. Yeah, that's it. What do you think MVP wise?
MVP wise, I'm going to go with. I could just copy you with Jamal. Great game.
29 carries.
But I'm gonna go with Johnny Linehan. Really impressed.
Special teams
with the punting game. I thought it made every drive for Arizona long.
Yeah, BYU had the better field position,
and that makes a big difference, especially against an offense as high-powered as Arizona's is, to make them go those 90-yard drives. That was huge, and that's something that BYU is going to continue to need going forward. At least through what he's shown in one game, he's improved over last year.
He has, and he's not doing a full rugby. He's doing like he did a straight punt, I believe, and then had a few 2 steps. But he's not doing an extended rugby, which maybe situationally they will. But leg looked good, and the ones he punted quite a few times from good field position, the 50, the 40, and but when he did have to punt from deeper, he got some leg on it. I didn't get average field, but here's why BYU should have won more. They led the minutes of possession 37-22. So, and I just think special teams was a big part of that. And the offense had some good drives that didn't end in points, which is bad, but they were able to really not allow Arizona to get going. And they had some moments where they had figured some things out, were moving the ball.
Duds or least valuable players goes to, this kind of ties back into Johnny. There were times that he had punts in 5 yards and or less of the end zone. Guys were there. Oh, that has to be frustrating for Johnny, and frustrating for all of us BYU fans. And I guess kind of the second thing, and this kind of ties back to the defense as a whole, was when the punts were down at like the 2-yard line, Arizona just ran it right up the middle.
They got big chunks of yardage.
Big chunks of yardage to where it didn't as much that the ball was down at the 2-yard line.
They seemed to be able to pick up a few yards when they needed to.
Yeah, and so that was frustrating to see the defense, especially in that position. Obviously, I'm not going to necessarily call for them to always get a safety, but you want them to at least put a little more effort.
All right. I didn't get a song because I slept all day and I couldn't think of a song that was like way to almost screw it up. Thank you to my sister and brother-in-law for their comments. BT Dubs, I see you.
The song I went with, Country, for the Arizona country. I'd never heard so much country in my life till I moved to Arizona. They love country down there. Country Thunder. Cowboys just go out to the desert, listen to music, and get drunk.
Sounds like a Friday night.
Big thing down there. So I went with Hit the Ground Running. Keith.
My boy Keith. Fun fact about Keith Urban. It was terrible. We shouldn't be on camera for this part. This is what was good about a podcast. We didn't listen to music. Anyway, Nicole Kidman married him.
Knew what they wanted to do, and they wanted to run the ball.
And they did a pretty decent job of it. But he didn't look. Remember, before Squally's infamous fumble, like, people were pretty dang high on him. Improvement. I didn't think
Even
he looked
after
great.
the fumble, people have still been pretty high on
Yeah.
him. I need to see a little more out of Canada.
And people say he's still fumbling in practice. Hold the ball, kid. I keep thinking of all these running backs that got cut last week because there was a running back, like, there were too many on their team. And, man, my vocabulary is not too wide today. And one got cut because they can't hold the ball. Ronnie Hillman. Anyway, NFL football starts tomorrow. Thank goodness. So stoked. Arizona as a place, real good food. You gave me some suggestions, and some of your suggestions very much mixed with my other people's suggestions. So
Good.
I went to those places, had delicious food. Went to Bahama Bucks, is that what it's called? Mitch's high school work
My
establishment.
high school job.
And I would say it's a mix between like your general shaved ice place and Rita's. Like, they do ice cream and stuff underneath it. Real good. Very friendly service.
Can you imagine working there and being told, as long as there are not customers here, you can eat whatever you want?
I hate you. I worked at a Chinese restaurant where that wasn't the truth, but I ate a lot anyway because I love it and I got half off. Anyway, we had a lot of fun. We ended up sleeping through our Chase Field tour.
You slept at the Chase
No,
Field tour,
like,
or you?
we slept at home through it because we went to Vegas that night. I was up for like 20 to start the trip because like I was like, okay, I'm gonna take a nap and then we'll go and I'll sleep in the car. It just didn't happen. So we went to Vegas. We had a buffet. Vegas is it was a hot mess. I almost got arrested. A cop batoned me a little bit. Story for another day, but it was I had a great time. I loved University of Phoenix Stadium. That air conditioning is a miracle.
It almost felt
it did. It was great. I was fine. I was super happy.
Awesome stadium.
But yeah, clean, good food, good. I
went swimming.
The Arizona people. I went swimming a lot. We fortunately had a pool where we were staying, and
yeah,
we like. There's nothing like it being too freaking hot outside and just being able to hang out in the pool until like 1 a.m.
As someone from Arizona, I got off the plane and thought,
yeah, everybody was like, Mitchell, this isn't actually that bad. You're in the high 90s, low 100s. Like 2 weeks ago, we were at 115 all the time. And
yeah,
I think everyone can agree getting into a stifling car and getting burned by your seatbelt sucks. But other than that, Arizonians were like, this isn't bad. And I was like, really? Because there's just this thin layer of sweat over me the entire time. I have some family down there, and I just went and spent a couple hours with them. And we were like in an air-conditioned patio, but still outdoors. And there was just sweat, and it was a difficult situation. Traffic was nuts. Ended up at the emergency room for a buddy I was with. So it was a little more of an adventure than I needed.
Yeah, I think I missed out on that adventure. We almost got there a little too early, but
yeah,
that's okay.
See, we knew why we wanted. We just we ended up getting there plenty of time before the game, so
all worked out.
It was good.
Good time, good stadium, good crowd.
We need to like put a note that if people don't care about the Arizona game, if they want to leave that behind, we talked about that for a long time here. It's rivalry week. I think this is what really matters.
Hey-o.
We're playing it's not the tribe that I love and respect and the state is named for, but the football team that wears red. Yes, but YEWTS.
I think that's
coached by
Utah fans hate
Kyle
when BYU fans spell it that way.
No.
Just like BYU fans hate when them as the team down south.
Yeah, I don't even mind that one. Yeah, we're down south. Good, you know your directions.
Kind of a good little trade.
You go to the medical school, you're smart. I don't know, because I just don't want to talk football with my Ute friends. I'm like, let's just be friends, and like I respect your school and like athletic wise. I'm like, but let's not even discuss athletics because I'm just gonna hate you and think you're stupid because I also already don't like talking to people who don't know what they're talking about sports. Like, I like casual fans who are casual fans, but people who aren't that big of fans, but they become big fans during rivalry week and talk like they know football, shut up. BYU ones too, because this week is so volatile. Like, this rivalry,
This is when the crazy
we've talked
comes
about
out.
it. Like, it rides this line of like intense and just stupid. And I want it to be intense and everyone to value it, but Utah's like, oh, we're too good for it. So I did some math. I'm going to have to bring up the tweet. But the point is, for a long time, BYU didn't compete with Utah, or they competed, but they knew they were going to lose every year.
Yeah.
Like, through a bunch of years that didn't matter, like the 30s and the 40s, when Mormons were doing things like growing their church, fighting in wars. I'm kidding. Here's the thing.
Farming. I don't know.
Fun fact, Ute haters who hate Brigham Young. Brigham Young started your educational institution. It is also started by a bunch of Mormons. It's diversified, I think, a ton, even in like the last decade. But a ton of prominent Mormons still went the University of Utah, including like our prophet Thomas S. Monson, and it just, quite frankly, all the hatred.
Now this week is both of us. You're kind of a transplant to the rivalry week madness here in Utah.
I hate it.
And I am one that before I moved to Arizona at the age of 13 was fully ingrained in the madness.
Yeah.
The school, and like it didn't even have to be rivalry week. The easiest way to split up on the blacktop in elementary school was BYU versus Utah fans. I can understand that. There's like this hatred that kind of carried throughout like
Life.
competitive things all throughout the year.
Good.
To where then when the football game specifically, like basketball, it's cool and all, but
Yeah.
like football's king.
That's what matters.
And so when you have all these little like cool things that don't matter in real life, but 8 years old, like the fact that you lost to this Utah fan at recess really sucks. But hopefully that Saturday is going to win.
Oh, yeah.
It just like creates this new interesting level to the rivalry that I don't know if it exists quite like that.
I love that, and I just, it's kind of disgusting. Some ESPN guy the other day said, like, after Alabama Auburn, it's one of the nastiest. And I think among players and coaches, there's been some nastiness, but there's also been plenty of crossover and respect as guys who work out and know each other. Obviously, this year goes to a whole new level with Kalani, who was there for a decade but went to school here. Kyle got asked today in a press conference, like, do you root for BYU when they're not playing because you went there and they're your friends and stuff? And he's like, not really, which is fine with me. I think Kyle's has said some arrogant things in the past I haven't liked, but for the most part, it's whatever. He's a good football coach. Utah leads all time by quite a bit because for a lot of those
early years, yeah.
But BYU since 1965, so in the last 50 years, leads 28-21, pretty even. Since 93, though, the Utes lead 14-7, so they've doubled us up, but in a touchdown, but twice as many wins. From 72 to 92, right before we were born, or up until that last year, BYU won 18 of 20. So there's eras, and that's why I don't like the last 5 years. Yes, Utah's been better, and the rivalry has also suffered on the basketball side for BYU. So maybe that's why. Because since I've been here, BYU's been on the losing side, and Utah's been in the Pac-12 and been on this whole new level of stupidity and arrogance. So that's kind of – but like I said, I drafted Devontae Booker in fantasy football. I had no problem doing that. And I work with a bunch of Utah fans, and aside from a couple of them, get along with them. We're going to have a Ute on the program, and that's fine. Won this game by like 50. And I don't think either team's that much better. I think someone's just going to have it figured out and win it.
Yeah.
And Bronco never seemed to be able to do that. Kalani can get these guys up for it, and they can do this. I think Utah's a little bit more established across the board just because they don't have as many moving pieces, as much newness. They have a good defense, but I think BYU is very capable of winning this game. Hopefully they play a little bit more explosive.
This game is going to be interesting. Like you said, there's a lot of moving pieces for BYU. Pieces tie back into Utah.
Yep.
And so that's what makes it so interesting to see.
He's got a brother over there.
Yeah, and that's one thing I want to talk. We're going to bring on Landon Weaver. He is a friend of mine, a guy that I worked with years ago. He literally is the biggest Utah fan that I know. But at the same time, he is also, and we'll see how it comes out tonight, considering it is rivalry week. But honestly, he is one of the most level-headed Utah fans as well.
Has he been watching? Did he hear me say all those terrible things about the Utes?
I don't know. And so it's going to be interesting to talk to him and to continue this conversation tonight of rivalry sits right now, kind of where we see it going in the future. And it's a very interesting rivalry. I think I feel like BYU fans are kind of excited to. Main area of BYU fans are excited to be done with Bronco.
Bronco, who, by the way, this week lost to Richmond by double digits. Good job, Bronco. There you go. Is that what the who? That's what I think of Virginia. And I'm also still ticked about that game like years ago.
And so this is the main area where BYU fans are looking for an improvement.
Yeah. Yeah, big games. Because I remember even a couple of years ago when BYU was playing so well and they dropped the game to Wisconsin, and it just seemed like there were these winnable games that slipped through their fingers. And as Blaine Fowler was talking about, I think the pressure's on Utah. They need this game. They've got USC coming in next week, America. A desperate team who's going to need to win that game. And this might be their biggest game of the year. It's definitely their second or third toughest opponent behind UCLA and Michigan State. And the rivalry might mean more to them right now because they don't want to go on a 6-game losing streak. But I think to Utah. So let's bring Landon on. Is that his name?
Yeah.
And with him, then we'll give you some predictions. Talk about girls soccer a little bit. And it's game time.
We are improving in technology.
But not audio
quality. But not phone calls. We don't have a producer behind the scenes.
I know. Google Hangouts.
What's up, Landon?
Much. Happy to be on the show today.
How ready are you for rivalry week?
Well, it's the best week of the year, definitely. Or the most stressful week of the year. You could say that as well, but
I gave you a little intro, but we'll dive in a little deeper now. Landon here is the biggest Utah fan that I know. And he is also weak, but he's also probably the most level-headed Utah fan I know.
So he knew Travis Wilson sucked.
And so we've got Landon on here. And Landon, you're talking to, obviously, you know me, Mitchell Marshall here. And you're on the Tale of Two Cougars podcast. So thanks for coming on with us tonight and talking BYU Utah.
Thanks for having me. And yes, for Mitchell comment, Travis Wilson did have some rough times, but he did win a lot of games.
He did. The beginning of last year, he looked great sometimes. So I got two questions real quick. What started you as a Ute fan? Did your parent go there, whatever? And do you live in Utah County now?
Well, my dad made it very clear at a young age that Utah fan and get over the family. I remember, early 90s going to Utah games. My dad would like to travel to the bowl games, and no, I did not live in Utah County, nor do I plan on ever moving to Utah County.
Yeah, Landon here, he goes way back. What year was that you went to the Liberty Bowl with your dad?
Wow.
So 2002, I remember my dad went back for grad school. They had the the very first year, and since he was going back to school, he talked to Chris Hill, and that was only 12. So pretty fun. A bunch of college students on one bus back then, drove out to Memphis, won the game, and I think it was like a 36-hour drive, but
Dang.
that was a fun trip. That was the first bowl game I was able to go to, but yeah, one of those original must bus memories. Pretty cool.
Dang. So give us some other Utah background facts about you and your family in general.
Are you talking about as related to Utah football?
Yeah.
I think the whole family, Utah fans. And my wife, that was a requirement to be a Utah fan. Actually made her, before I ever took her to her first Utah game, it was actually the BYU-Utah game where we rushed the field 3 times.
The field goals. Oh, geez.
Yeah, back with potty mouth Falslev back then. But I made my wife pass a quiz that I wrote up for. It's a 25-question quiz.
Oh, man.
About Utah. And 80%, which is my requirement. And, so that's kind of when she realized how serious Utah football is in my family. So,
he
goes back. I think my dad was kind of the original one. He's the one who went to college there. My mom graduated from there as well. And so there, so.
You've got season tickets. I know you've tried to convince me to go to some games, but I refuse to follow your dad's rule.
Cool.
He has to wear red and he has to cheer for Utah.
Oh, yeah.
So I've told Mitch in the past if he wants to enjoy it, maybe see that new beautiful video board. All you have to do is put the
I love how hyped the video board is. So, Landon, what's the best moment for you? What's the best victory? We were talking about this since 1990. You're around our age. Utah's won 14 and BYU's only won 7. So what's the best victory for you in that time?
For me, probably definitely when we rushed the field 3 times back when it bounced off the field. What was that? 4 years ago?
Yeah.
2000, was that 2012? Yeah.
One of the more memorable games. I remember in 2005 when Brett Ratliff beat BYU when we were a pretty big underdog.
Yeah, that was a rough one for BYU.
So,
yeah.
And then obviously the Vegas Bowl was pretty fun last year when I was down at that.
Dude, was it really though? I mean, that was kind of an ugly game all around.
It was ugly, but those first 7-8 minutes were the greatest 7-8 minutes of football.
Where it's just disaster after disaster. What about low moments? I mean, obviously there's back to Harleen. Is there a loss that especially kind of stung?
Well, probably one of the worst because that was right in front of me where my seats are.
Oh, wow.
Watching Joe Giannone, and then he rushed to the last second, all of a sudden we see Beck, the quarterback. There.
Yep.
Yeah, I remember Beck just threw, and no one could swear it's thrown until you look over and there, right there. So that one probably stung more than any other.
That kind of leads into my next question, and maybe kind of answers it as well. Utah has been the fortunate ones to have had experienced, at least in my lifetime, in this rivalry than BYU has. But there has also been a lot of really close games. And so maybe this for us, but because you haven't experienced the blowouts we have, but do you think it's worse to experience a blowout in this game or a close one?
Man, that's a tough question. Kind of pick your poison on that one. But
Yep.
Blowout to me would probably be a little bit worse, maybe just because I'm used to a lot of close games. The last 20 within 7 points. So we're kind of used to that. Then, then the excuses come from both sides. Well, it's this or this on that one play would have happened. But if it's a blowout, then the other team, the fan base can't say anything. So I think that would be kind of worse, and that would make it more of a better team rather than, what it's been in the past as a close game, just makes the rivalry so fun.
Let's create plenty of hate. So what's your quick scouting report on Utah 2016? We've kind of talked about what we think are some of their strengths and questions. What, as a fan, what is your realistic look at this team and your quick scouting report?
I definitely think the team can be very good. One of the probably top two in the Pac-12 South at least. It was pretty refreshing seeing some good pass game in the last game.
They really gave him a chance to throw.
What was it? Troy Williams completed to 11 different receivers, which I can't tell you the last time that happened. And
yeah, who knew Utah even had 11 receivers?
That's a lot of guys catching the ball. That's good.
Oh, yeah. And plus, I mean, they had a couple drops, which stopped them from getting a 300-yard pass game, which we haven't had since in 2013. So I think that was refreshing for everybody. I think the defense is just lights out, as everybody already knows. I'm not too worried about the linebackers like some people are. I mean, it is a Kyle Whittingham team. He's going to make sure they're good at linebacker in their position. But with Lowell, with safety, that defense is going to carry us like they do every year. But with the solid line, Tim Patrick healthy, we'll get the run game going. Joe Williams is a little slow in this last game, but all in all, I think we could definitely, with a little luck, take the Pac-12 South at least. Yeah,
the Pac-12 South. I mean, some people were high on USC. Obviously, they got destroyed, but no one else seems to stick out. So it might be a really good year. Whereas last year, Utah looked really strong, but there was also some other significant teams in the area. It's going to be an interesting year in the whole conference.
Top to bottom, it's a great conference, and especially the South. And luckily, UCLA, USC have had some soft spots, and hopefully Utah can use that when they play. But I'm sure they'll be one. It's just really tough to know until maybe week 4 or 5 who the big boys are in the conference. Stanford, Washington, but that was up for grabs. I think this year more than any other.
So what position group do you think might struggle against BYU?
Might struggle. Well, hopefully not the defensive line.
They look strong, but you're facing a good run game.
Yeah. Is have yourself a good first game offense. Yeah, to be honest, if our whole line doesn't pick it up, more like if they played like last week, I think BYU might, be able to stop their run. But it's tough to say which will struggle, but I'm most concerned with BYU's running game right now, so hopefully the D-line steps it up.
Last week, do you think they purposely, going up against a lower-level school, let Troy Williams throw more and really wanted to get a feel for that passing game? Or do you think that's their game?
I think that's their game. Okay. And I honestly think that the past 4 years we've been limited in our pass game.
Yep.
We've had to have no offense and back as reliable as Booker, where you can honestly hand it to him 3 times right at the minimum to get to the 10 yards.
Yeah.
Coming out, passing, the red zone pass. I think Utah's going to incorporate that more and more, which will just open up the run game since we don't have a back as solid as Booker. So we're going to need that.
Kind of sticking with the run game, you talked about replacing Booker. Obviously, we know there is some experience there, but what is the run game? It struggled a little bit versus SUU. So what do you kind of project going forward with that?
I think they'll pick it up. I think one of the reasons the run game struggles is because the O-line, struggled a little bit. We have a couple guys rotating the tackle spots, moving from tackle to center. And you can tell that's new for him, all the low snaps. And, once they gel together, I think that'll pick up the run game. And having a few different backs play, Joe and Troy, we have Zach Moss and Armand Shine as kind of the heavy backs. So, I don't think we have a clear-cut one guy. Like with Booker, it's not just going to be Joe Williams. I think we're going to see 3 to 4 guys a game, depending on what the situation is like. But I think Dennis Erickson does a good job, and he'll make it work.
All right, a few quick last questions. How do you feel about Kalani Sitake and your positive or negative feelings towards him now that he's on the other side? And how is the team and or Ute Nation embrace Guy Holiday?
Well, me Mitch knows how I used to feel about Bronco, and I think there's a lot of animosity towards the teams when he was there. And on my part, at least, I love Kalani. I actually met him a couple times. I wish the best for him. I really wish he didn't go to BYU because I do like him so much. But I think a lot of the hatred, even between fans, is a little bit. I mean, it's still pretty feisty. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
And as far as Guy Holiday, we love it. I mean, to see a guy with a couple touchdowns, receiving touchdowns, and I mean, he's just vocal, kind of like the Sharif Shaw of the offense. Very vocal, very upbeat, very inspirational quotes on Twitter, as you guys may have seen.
Yeah.
But no,
I unfollowed him, but I know.
We're excited to have him.
All right.
What effect do you think those two coaches kind of flip-flopping now their teams going into this game?
I mean, I don't know if they know too much of the scheme on what's going to happen, but they know the personnel. I think they know maybe the weaknesses and strengths of the players. But I don't know how much Kalani will know about what Kyle's going to do because we have, kind of a different offense now that Travis isn't there and Morgan's running the defense. And with Guy, I mean, because you have Detmer in there instead of a Nye. And only coaches Tagaki. So they know the players, the personnel there. But I don't think scheme they won't know that as much. So I think it'll be a fair game.
What's your score prediction?
I'm keeping it close. Although I do think Utah has the edge under 17.
So not a lot of scoring because last week neither team really put up points.
They're defensive teams. Both head coaches are defensive coaches. I think it's going to be a battle for turnovers. I don't think it'll be high scoring at all.
So, yeah, and you guys counter BYU's offensive strengths really well. Obviously, Jamal Williams, if he runs for over 100, 150 yards, that would be very impressive versus Utah. Did you watch the BYU game, and what do you think Ute Nation thinks of Taysom right now?
I did watch the game. Running game's awesome. Taysom, you guys kind of like this short passes over the middle, things like that. He's obviously a solid leader, gets the team excited, which always helps him with momentum. I honestly, if we can keep him in the pocket, but in Tanner Mangum's arm than I am Taysom's as far as accuracy, as far as deep ball goes. I don't think we're going to see Taysom scramble as much as we used to in the past because he'd like to make it through a full season and not take hits from that D-line and those linebackers. Taysom's a good leader, great player. He can make things happen, but as long as we keep him in the pocket and force him to throw it, go.
Who are the – if there was one player you had to pick from each side, I guess who is the player that is keeping Kyle Whittingham up, or who is the player that should be keeping Kalani Sitake up at night?
Kyle, I think it's definitely Jamal. Jamal is a stud. He's healthy. He's fast. Someone I'm kind of excited to see is Jonah Trinman, little speedster. He got a couple targets last game. Break through and have a good game against that. Speaking of that afterwards. As far as Kalani goes, I mean, just watch out for Troy. We don't know what he's made of quite yet. He gets his first taste of the rivalry. But then Marcus Williams. I think he scares anybody passing the ball. And with that offense, if we force him to pass it because we shut down Jamal, I think Marcus Williams will have a great game again. All
right, last thing. Tell us 30 seconds and give us a shout at Cougar Nation and tell them what you really think about them, us.
Mitch said this is a family show, so I will try and tame myself. But all I know is has been living more righteous this week and this season. I believe he's going to come away with the win on Saturday. So we'll see who's living righteous on and off the field this week.
All right, man. It was really good talking to you, and glad to get some insight from someone inside Utah. And hopefully it's a fun one. But thanks for coming on, Landon.
Hey, guys.
He was good.
He knows his stuff.
He did, and he was diplomatic. He could have gone But no, I enjoyed that, and he has a point. If there are teams that can, I think Taysom showed more poise in the pocket, but he's a playmaker, and if he can't play with his legs either because of the defense or himself, you'd probably rather have Tanner in there. So it'll be interesting to see if Taysom can open up the pass game and continue to use his legs and be all around, because yeah, people are a lot more scared of Jamal Williams, and I think that's absolutely the right read right now.
Me after the bowl game that he didn't want to play Tanner Mangum this year. And
Really?
he was grateful that BYU went with Taysom Hill because he felt like Tanner was able to pick apart the strength of Utah's team, which is their defense. And so it's going to be interesting to see can have a game. And I don't know if he necessarily needs one to the same effect that Tanner needed last year in a comeback. He has to make throws.
Yep.
BYU isn't going to be able to rely on Jamal Williams as much as they did last week.
No, he's got to make throws, and it'll be fun to watch. And I think I haven't looked at the schedule and thought, okay, this game Tanner would be good. This game, I do think they play better against different types of defenses. All right, let's wrap this with at least this part with score predictions.
I agree with Landon. I think it's going to be low scoring, which then when I say this, I'm like, wait a second, but we all thought last game was going to be high scoring. So maybe, but I think it's going to be a defensive game. Turnovers are not only so big in football, big in this rivalry game.
BYU won the turnover battle at Arizona pretty easily. So.
And so I think BYU is going to be cautious. I don't know if they can play with the same level of cautiousness that they did last week.
No, they can't come up short that many times.
And so I think it's going to be low scoring, but I think in just enough of an offensive effort. Because when I look at strengths and weaknesses of these two teams, there's some things that kind of like each other out a little bit and kind of cancel each other out. But ultimately, I think I trust BYU's offense just a little bit more against Utah's defense than I trust Utah's offense against BYU's defense. Part of that is just the history of Utah's offense. They haven't shown the ability to a lot of points. And so I think if this game stays low, BYU's offense just has enough of the ability to take the lead. And I think we're looking at maybe a 16-20 game.
Wow. I'm going to go with 28-24. Let me tell you why. I think both teams are going to get maybe not scores, but big time plays from their defense that lead to points. I think BYU is going to find the end zone a few times, and I don't think that's going to be easy. And I think those touchdowns will be really far apart. And it'll be interesting to see if they start out strong or if they really have to find that, which I think this happens a little bit more in the NFL, but a lot of teams will score on that opening drive and then just shut down for a long time. And so we'll see. But I think 28 sounds like a lot. I actually think BYU's capable of that, and hopefully their defense grabs them one of those scores. And I think BYU's defense still hasn't found itself. I think Utah's offense will get they won't perform well, but their defense will probably get them a huge play, and I think they'll get a big play because BYU always gives up a big play, but it's about getting a little bit more. There's enough unknowns that I feel comfortable like this might be way off, but I think it'll be close, but I think BYU will be able to win out.
All right.
So it's rivalry week. I'm excited. I came for a fairly expensive price and was like, do I want to pay that and be just
how much?
Like $160? It was a really good ticket.
You can buy season tickets easily to every BYU game for the price of this one.
It would have been fun, interesting. I have some friends who are tickets and see if they can find somewhere appropriate to sit.
Did you just call them moose tickets?
That's right. Moose. I can call them whatever the hell I want. And yeah. Tale of Two Cougars podcast. Thanks for tuning in. Always check us out on Twitter and Facebook. NFL starts tomorrow. Go Broncos. That's Lovely.
Exciting times.
That'll be back Saturday. The game's at 5:30 on Fox, channel 13.
And you can actually watch it if you have Dish.
So I work
Mitchell's company
for
came
Fox,
through.
and they're owned by Tribune, and Dish and them had a dispute. Like 42 channels overall were in dispute for a very long time, and they just got back in time for NFL. Of course, for the first week of NFL action, where Fox usually carries a doubleheader, and we'll have this BYU game. So pretty cool to have the game. If you have an antenna, you can even watch it.
Yeah.
Easily accessible.
Nationally televised. This, if you look at the schedule, this really is one of, if maybe not the best. Obviously, I'm a little biased.
Yeah.
Competitive game that is on the schedule this week.
It is. A lot of people are ranking it as one of the best games to watch because week one they wanted to be competitive, and it was the best week one in years. I mean, we didn't even talk about the good games that went on, including LSU going down, Notre Dame,
Florida State,
Ole Miss. It was a nuts weekend. I hope you watch some football this week. Now all those big programs are playing, ITT Tech. Shut down. Fun fact.
So just, go on to BYU TV's website, pull up an old BYU Utah game, preferably one that BYU wins, enjoy that, and then get ready for
if
BYU
you're really
Utah.
Craving it. Plug my own show here, but I am. The morning show on Fox from 6 to 9. We're going to have live reporters out at the stadium with fans. We're going to have fun competitions. We're going to have a look back at history, a look at tonight's game, sound from all week that the coaches have put out. It's pretty much going to be the local news will be there too, and weather, but it's going to be 3 hours of Holy War stuff, and then there will be an hour pregame as well before Fox takes over coverage from the local stations. So if you really want your fill, it's going to be there pretty much all day.
I want to hear your opinion on the favorite and least favorite games in this rivalry.
I did watch Back to Harleen live, and I think that was really good moments. I think that was my high point. My low point, in 2012, I waited in line really long time to get really good seats to the game, and it wasn't a pretty game. It was kind of like Utah was pretty much leading, but clearly they weren't outplaying by BYU that much, and BYU just couldn't seem to get over the hump. It was a very Bronco-esque game. But the game where Utah rushed the field 5 times and BYU really came on a field goal, golly, our kicking game is just historically horrendous.
Yes.
That was really painful. Those are probably my 2 worst losses, and that includes I watched with Ute fans the game where they won like 53 to 8.
Jake Heaps.
It is the garage code to a good friend of mine. His parents live up in West Jordan, and this is their code to get in their garage to this day. That one, though, I mean, it was such a bad game that I was like, this can't be as painful as a close loss. Final shout out real quick to the girls soccer team who's they had an ugly loss early in the season. The defending champs and another 2 ranked teams, or 1 ranked team, and Utah, the rival, pretty handily since then. They've been on fire, ranked 8th in the country. Ashley Hatch has like 8 goals already. And so awesome BYU sport going on. Hopefully soon we're going to start getting little basketball tidbits, but it's all football time right now, which is just how I like it.
Good stuff. It is going to be.
Did you have Utah game thoughts? I feel like you never did say those.
Harleen's kind of the classic one.
It's almost too easy.
But I'm gonna kind of dip back a little bit, and we're gonna go in 2000, Lavelle Edwards' last game. The comeback that they pulled in that last minute drive, I remember watching that as a young kid, and that was. And to then follow that up the next year by Brandon Doman and Luke Staley's performance.
Oh,
which I have heard
times.
If you were
That's
there.
When I first started becoming a BYU fan.
I've heard if you were there, that was the loudest moment potentially in Lavelle Edwards history. Tied with when BYU beat Miami.
Oh, yeah.
So I'd go with, if I'm going to stay away from the Back to Harleen, I'm going to go with one of those 2. Maybe because it kind of, I think part of the reason is it fit in that area like I was talking about before when I was in elementary school.
Yeah.
And so it's like, now I can go to school on Monday and talk crap and actually have something to back it up with.
If BYU wins, I will wear my BYU shirt and I will look smug as hell, but I won't say a word to one of my Ute coworkers. What about most painful?
My mission, thank the Lord, for the Jay Keeps year.
Oh yeah.
Well, I think probably would be the year. I think it was the 2008 when Utah ended up going to the Sugar Bowl. Max Hall had like 5 interceptions or something insane.
Oh, Max.
That was rough.
Max. It's been crazy. But I'm stoked for this weekend. If we lose, it'll kind of ruin my day/year. So don't screw it up. Hopefully everyone's really random thought. Mitch Juergens, where the heck was he? He was the holder. But
other than that,
he was such a big piece of the offense last year. And
non-existent. Oh, you're bringing back thoughts now. The tight end. We have tight ends now.
Yeah,
Hello.
they're unconventional and going to be used in safe. It's good to see him out there.
One. And I'm pretty sure BYU ran a spider-Y banana. And if you don't know what that is, go Google John Gruden spider-Y banana.
I like John Gruden, just not as a commentator. I like Coach Chucky John Gruden. But I can't remember it, and I've already talked.
My last words on BYU and Utah is, let's hope the Kalani effect is real. Utah's had their fun.
Just be righteous this week. That's what Landon said. Is Landon LDS?
Yes.
Okay. Not that that matters.
Utah's had their fun. We talked about eras. They've had their era, but
it was cute.
But now it's the Kalani Sitake era.
BYU to Big 12. Just gonna nothing real. That which is pretty big. I think we knew that last week, but
let's hope.
I think things are looking good, and I don't think Houston beating Oklahoma with like that.
If anything, it would
like okay, stronger team, but okay, we need another Texas team. Well, anyway, all right, let's end this before I kill someone thinking about the Utes.
Alrighty, until next week, rise and shout, go Cougars.